How are you, class?
Very fine.
I'm fine. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience that we've had, but then we'll still go on. I did welcome you to this wonderful presentation. Today we'll be looking at, it's just an ongoing topic that we are looking at. Last week we looked at strategic implementation, and we ended with our friend Captain Wango. So I'll just pick it up from there, and then we'll go on. Okay, so welcome to ZICAS. We'll be looking at strategic implementation. Now, we'll be looking at change management under the topic strategic implementation, presented by Chileshe Danny. So you are really welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, under change management, we'll look at some of the objectives and the learning outcome that we hope to know by the end of this session. So we'll look at definition and context of change. And then we'll also look at objectives of change management strategy. Then we'll also look at the aim and the purpose of change management strategy. We'll also try to look at process of change management strategy. We'll try to go a little bit more on process of change management strategy. And we'll look at some of the model which are very important when you are trying to manage change. Then we'll also try to look at benefits of change management strategy. Though that sub-agent is not in the syllabus for you friends, but I thought of trying to infuse it so that we appreciate the importance of change management strategy. We'll also try to look at the constraints and or disadvantages of change management strategy. So I really welcome you. Okay, so we start with the definition and context of change management. So change. Folks, you agree with me that change is inevitable. Change in life is inevitable. There was a time that socially we are slim, but we are gaining some weight. We are short, and then we are getting tall. Even in an organization perspective, change is inevitable. You can't be just static. You definitely have to move. So, okay, so one of the scholars of change, he says change management is an approach to transitioning individuals and teams and organization to a desired future state. So we are saying we are at this position today, and then we want to be, there is where we want to be. So change management is actually, as a manager, as a CEO, as a person involved in an organization, you are trying to assist to move from where you are to another future state. So that's one scholar. And then the other scholar says, by the name of Prochi, he defines change management as the application of structured process and set of tools for leading the people's side of change to achieve a desired outcome. So if you look at the first definition that we've just looked at, and this one, probably more of the elements are just the same. And then we can therefore say, change management strategy is a proactive management of change in an organization to achieve identified objectives. I tried to put this word proactive. Proactive, you really foresee something which is an interest to an organization. Prior to that thing happening or trying to bring the organization down, you try to put some some strategies. You try to put certain things in place so that you don't incur the risk, or rather the loss that may arise to what you've actually said. Okay, thank you. Now, let's look at the context of change. When we're looking at the context of change, or rather what is inside change, we look at what we may call the triggers for change. Triggers for change, these are factors, or these are things that influence change, that makes you to move from where you are to where you want to be. So these are what we call triggers of change. So one, we look at the external. External, some of the tools, or rather the models that we can use to detect, or to get some, what should I say? Some of the model that we can use to detect what will trigger change. Last time, I think, Eddie, in our P5 paper, we looked at the peso. Peso, we talked of political. Sometimes political, maybe a government can institute or can bring in maybe some labor laws. So when the government brings in new labor laws, it will make an organization to change the way they relate with employees. And then we also looked at the economical. That is under the peso. Economical, sometimes there are times when there is recession, like 2008, we had the recession and economic downturn. That made companies to change in the way they were operating. So, triggers for change, we look at one, external. And there is also environmental. Environmental issues can also trigger change in an organization. Even some legal. Sometimes you might, as a company, you might have some legal litigation that will require you to pay I would say, a huge sum of money that will make you to restructure or to change, to restructure an organization because you've spent a lot. And then we also look at internal. Internal, an example of internal trigger to change, I would give an example. You have a new CEO, or you have somebody appointed, more especially a new CEO. It will definitely, things will definitely change. I think we have a best example of this institution where one who was our CEO since the inception or incorporation of this institution, the time he resigned or he just said, I'm stopping, we had a new CEO. So we've seen some changes. So that is also change. Those are things that triggers change. And then problem identification. Sometimes there are times when you just have problems. Those will also trigger change. So the other context of change is the types of change. So change, we have evolution. Evolution is really very important. Evolution, I would say evolution is it's very fundamental, and sometimes it's very minor. Evolution, I would give an example of evolution change, evolution change. I would give an example of maybe the organic growth of a company where you're just growing slow but sure. So evolution type of changes where you are changing gradually, not suddenly. So that's the type of change. And then we also look at revolution. Revolution, sometimes we may say these are some of the one-off events that occurs or happen in an organization. I would give an example of merger and acquisitions. Those are types of revolution. And they are very fundamental and they are very major. They happen suddenly. Sometimes some scholars, they refer this to Big Bang. We know the Big Bang theory, yeah? Isn't it? Okay. There is also a reconstruction. Reconstruction basically is the change in the way an organization operates. So those are some of the types of change I deliberately left out one adaptation, but it's not relevant in our syllabus. Don't worry. So, resistance to change. I'm very safe. I'm very much protected. My consultant is there. So at the end of the session, I think we'll have quite time to consult our consultant there. So the context of change, another context of change, we look at the resistance to change. As I said earlier on, change does not only just come as it is. Sometimes there is resistance to change. Let's give an example of, I would say you want to do what? You bring in maybe, you are trying to bring in a new technology in an organization. Definitely there are people who feel like they will be demoted, and then maybe they will be declared redundant. So those are some of the things that will bring resistance to change. And then social factors, they are just people who just don't like change. That is in an organization. Those are some of the issues that are very critical. And then there are just personal factors where you just feel like less valued. There are times when technology comes in an organization, and those who are maybe sticking to the old style of doing things, they will say, the new one which is coming, I think it will make me not to have that experience and the competence that I have. Then organization culture. So organization culture is one of the contexts in change. Culture is basically these are sets of guidelines, or these are culture, these are values that people have in an organization, beliefs that people have in an organization. And so when change comes, people will resist, like moving from what they believe to what you are trying to bring in. Now, objectives of change management strategy. I'll try to be brief because of time. So the objectives of change management strategy, one is to sustain change itself. So these are some of the objectives of change management strategy. To sustain it, not whereby you just introduce change, you just start and then it stops. It has to be something which is sustainable. Measure change itself, the change results. There are desired results that you want within change. So the objectives of change management is to measure these same results. And then we'll also look at the measuring of performance. So these are some of the objectives of change management strategy. Then the objectives of change management strategy, in other, we can also say they address concerns and also improve change itself. Then we go to the aim and purpose of change management. If I'm fast, you just say, sir, you are really fast, so that I try to reduce the speed at which we are doing the presentation. So the aim and purpose of change management strategy, I just decided to give you one. This is to ensure that any negative effects of change is minimized. As you go on, we will try to look at what will, because basically the sole purpose of change is to see that what we want to bring in is successful. So the aim and purpose of change management is to ensure that the negative effects of change is minimized, so that what we want to achieve at the end of the day, we achieve it. So we go now to the processes of change management strategy. Now, when we are looking at the processes of change, yes, madam?
Somebody said you're too fast.
Pardon?
That you're too fast.
I'm too fast, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to reduce. Okay. Now we are looking at the process of change management strategy. So when we look at the process, the process of change management strategy, we have one scholar by the name of Lewin. Lewin, I think, has really helped us in this area when looking at the processes of change management strategy. Of course, we have friends like the Johns and Scones. John and
Scores.
not Whittington, but this time they worked too. John and Scores, yes. So under change management process, we have this model. I think in your lower papers you looked at the force field analysis in decision-making techniques. So this also helps us in trying to in change management process. So Lewin says he emphasizes so much on the importance of force field analysis, and then he argues that managers should consider any change situation in terms of one, the factors that encourage and facilitate change. So as you can see at this model, under the process of change management strategy, we have two forces. We have the driving force, the driving forces. These are individuals, or we would say, these are individuals or people in an organization who are assisting to implement change and who really want you to move from where you are to where you want to be. But at the same time, we have restraining forces. These are forces which opposes change. As I said, we will always have people in an organization who resist change. And so, our scholar Lewin, he says, for us to ensure and to see that change is successful, we have to make sure that these forces which are assisting change has to be higher than the forces which are restraining change. So this is how much this scholar helped us to understand the forces to change. Then the other factor is managers should also look at the factors that hinder change. Because if you don't know the factors that facilitate change, and then you also don't know the factors that hinders change, you won't be successful in the change that you want to implement. And just to also take you back, when you are looking at change, there are three factors or things that are very important: stability, feasibility, and acceptability. Because in an organization, we have stakeholders. We have stakeholders like, we have customers, we have employees, we have also shareholders. So even when you are trying to bring change, you are trying to implement change, you need to look at how will these stakeholders react to the change that you want. Customers, how are they going to react? Employees, how are they going to react? Shareholders, how are they going to react? Is change gradual? Is change fast? So those are some of the issues that you look at. You look at stability, feasibility, and acceptability. And then we still go on the process of change management strategy, Lewin's. This is also another model. But basically, we will say there are three major steps in change management strategy. So one, we have strategic planning and design. Here I tried to mix two because they all just talk about the same things. The one that I've put in that color, I don't know if it's purple or pink. Color pink, I should think so. It was initiated by the same man we are talking about, Lewin's. So, under strategic planning and design, or unfreezing, what are we saying? As managers, we should define the vision and strategy. Where do you really want to be? And you should also identify the change required through using SWOT analysis and the PACE or PACE. Then the other thing that we should also consider under planning or unfreezing is determining the major issues. Basically on the strategic planning and design or unfreezing, Lewin says you should help people to understand why you need change. You should tell them there is a problem. Let's say, for instance, you are in the manufacturing of the product, let's say mobile phones. If you really want to, if you want change, you should tell customers, stakeholders to say, we've got these phones, which is these phones that's got problem. So what we want is to bring in another facility to this phone that will make it operate nicely. So that even when you bring change, even when you take people from that position to another position, they'll accept. So that is very cardinal in the process of change management. Then the other thing, we need to identify and assess key stakeholders. I think I've mentioned that, I can't overemphasize. And then we go to step number 2 in a process of change management strategy. Step number 2 is strategic implementation, what Lewin calls change or effecting change. So we've analyzed, we've defined our change. We've also explained to stakeholders to say the reason why we want change is this, so that even when you bring in change, people will definitely accept that change you are bringing in. So under the strategic implementation, you communicate the vision and strategy to the members of staff. Because members of staff, in all are the people who help you to move from where you are, or who help you to implement the change that you want as an organization. Yeah, I think you can see the members of staff. Okay, so under the strategic implementation, when you are trying to effect change, you should also lead through change agents. Who are these change agents? Change agents are actually individuals who assist an organization to move from where it is to where it's supposed to be. And change agents, sometimes we may refer these to consultants. Consultants like my professor here. These will actually help you to understand why you need change. So change agents are very important when you are looking at change management, because these are people vested with skills, vested with knowledge, who knows why change is very cardinal in an organization. And then the other thing, you look at strategic leadership. The other thing when you are looking at change management, also the type of leadership that you have also matters when you want to change, to move from where you are to where you want to be. We've got so many types of leadership. We've got autocratic type of leadership. We've got democratic type of leadership. All these play a major role in change management strategy. And you really need to know what type of leader should pioneer this type of change. You can't advise to say autocratic, because there are times where the people that you are leading, maybe they don't know, they don't have knowledge, they don't have skill. You don't need someone who is democratic. You need somebody who is autocratic, who just dictates to say, I want things to be done in this way. So strategic leadership also is very cardinal. And then there is this also other scholar by the name of Bass, who advises or says transformational type of leadership is very important. Transformational type of leadership, this is where you find leaders who are really eager to see change. And change is just part of what they do in day-to-day type of management or managing an organization. So he really emphasizes or hedges to say this is a type of leadership that is very important in change management, in the process of change management. And then I think this is transformational Also, the other thing about this transformational leadership, they energize people and build a vision of the future. So, the transformational type of leadership, we have leaders who try to energize people, who try to motivate members of staff so that they see the vision and they see the future where they want to be. So that is under the strategic implementation or effecting change. So then manage staff responses, and then the other thing under strategic implementation, you also need to introduce some things like the bonus schemes or things that will motivate members of staff so that they are able to implement the change that you want. And then lastly, on the process of change, we are looking at evaluation, refreezing. So refreezing or evaluation, let's imagine you've analyzed the reason for change, you've communicated it, and then you have identified the type of leaders that you want, and then you've implemented that change. People are actually enjoying, they're actually enjoying or participating in, you've actually effected that change and it is in process. There are times when people start restraining back to say, things are getting bad, we really need to get back to the old style of doing things. But Lewin says you need to refreeze. And how can you refreeze? You check performance against the set targets, then continue monitoring performance, modify structure if necessary, and then, modify structure if necessary. Also, at this stage, you also need to motivate members of staff so that they stick to the change that is happening. So change, you see that change is very important because as we looked, I think in some sessions that we had and some lectures that we have, you have identified the strategies that you want, you've picked the strategic choices, the strategies that you want to implement. My friends talked of project management. So project management can't be successful if we don't have people who can manage change effectively. Maybe you want to, you have maybe the marketing strategy. You want to promote this type of product. So if you don't have leaders or you don't have people who can facilitate change, definitely it will be unsuccessful. So we really need to manage change in an effective and efficient manner so that even the nice options, the nice strategies that we've picked using the models that we looked at, you can actually be successful. Imagine you've spent time in doing the external environment analysis. You analyze, this is what we want, this is where we want to be, and then you have also picked out of so many options that you want to pick, okay, this is what we want. We want to have a major acquisition, we want to introduce this product, we want to do this. And then at this stage, you don't have people who can manage change to move or to implement what you've analyzed, those strategies that you have so that they are in effect and you achieve what you want. So this is very important and an integral part of strategic implementation. So, yes, it's time for change. The benefits of change management strategy. So, some of the benefits of management strategy under strategic implementation, it provides competitive advantage, allowing organization to swiftly and effectively implement change to meet market needs. It's those organizations that are good at managing change are the ones that are really doing well and sometimes survive in times of recession, in times when things are difficult. So, change management, at times, it can give an organization a competitive advantage. So, even on an individual basis, if you are able to manage change, I think you will have that advantage than the other person seated next to you. I think we saw what happened with with Zika notified this and that. So managing that change was also very cardinal. Then constraints or disadvantages of change. So one, productivity declines. As I said, you've analyzed brilliant ideas that you want to implement. You've analyzed